we are honored and delighted to have, as I said before, a true American success story, Nassau Comptroller George Maragos.
Dean, thank you very much. A wonderful introduction. And it's always my pleasure and privilege to be with young people like yourselves. My story, as the Dean indicated, is a complex story, but I think I'm very proud of it. I came from very humble beginnings. My family was very poor. Poverty is what drove us out of Greece to immigrate to Canada. My parents came with nothing. I had nothing to start with. I paid my way through school. It was a choice, really, that I had to make. My parents couldn't afford to pay for me to go to college. If I wanted to go to college, I had to go and earn the money. And I did, and graduated with an electrical engineering degree from McGill in Montreal, which is one of the top schools in Canada. And then went to work for the Bell Labs up in Montreal, or so-called Bell Northern Research, which was a subsidiary of the Bell Labs. And at 26 years old, I was, with a bachelor's degree, I was managing PhDs at the Bell Labs. In '78, I was recruited by Booz Allen and Hamilton here in New York to start up their IT consulting practice. And that's how my wife is also an American citizen, so that's how we moved to New York back in '78. From Booz Allen, I moved down to JP Morgan Chase, where I became a vice president, and then moved on to Citicorp, also as a vice president. And then in the early '90s, I started my own company in financial information services, kind of similar to what Bloomberg does, only we're a much smaller company. We're not a $1 billion company. We're a very small, very modest company. But I also earned an MBA in finance in the early '80s from Pace University, and really that's what propelled me on to and gave me the entree into the financial world, and kind of spurred my advancement in the banking and finance sectors. I decided, I've always been, interestingly, a very modest, quiet, introverted person. And I'm the most unlikely person that you would ever guess or predict would go into public life, which you're basically exposed to the public. All your deepest secrets are found out and brought to light. But given the stage in life that I was, my 3 kids had grown up, they were established. So I was telling the dean, myself and my wife at home, I somehow by accident got entangled into the political world. And actually, I know, because it's very important. I got entangled because my son, who graduated from Cooper Union in the city, showed kind of certain talent or aspiration. He was the student council president and student representative on the board of trustees. So I indicated to him if he wanted to ever get involved in politics, maybe he wanted to give it a try. I knew some people and got him involved. And in getting him involved, I got entangled. So that's how it came about. But I'm the type of person that if I commit to do something, I will put my heart and soul to achieve the goal that I set for myself. And that makes all the difference in life. If you commit, if you want to do something, do it, but do it with passion and with a determination to win. But do it the right way. And you will be surprised because at the end, if you have the passion, you're going to do well in whatever you strive for. Nobody gave me a chance to win. They said you're going up against a popular 2-term entrenched incumbent with an even more popular county executive in Tamswazi, who was himself aspiring to run for governor. So I you know, looking at it from the outside, you would have said that George is out of his mind, or even attempting to do. He's crazy. He's going to waste his money, and at the end, he's going to lose. And of course, nobody took me serious. Nobody took me serious. But I believed in myself that I could do it. I had done more difficult challenges before, and I set out to win. And in setting out to win, I did everything that needed to be done. Because I didn't want to have any regrets. I didn't want to look back and say, if I had gone to a few more events, if I had, you know, run a few more commercials, it would have made the difference. Regrets don't count if you lose. What's counting is winning and achieving your goals. So that's what I urge you to kind of come away from today. So the secrets to success, you know, it's not what you learn in school, and what you learn in school is great. You gotta have the fundamentals, the skills. But if you don't have the passion for whatever your chosen profession or career is going to be, or the job opportunity that you will find, I'm telling you from now, you're not going to be successful. So you need to have the passion. And if you don't have the passion for whatever the reasons are, the environment, the challenge, the people you work for, find something else to do. Go to another organization. So passion is critical. Equally critical is ethics. Doing all the right things, following the rules of the game. You want people to talk behind you and say, he's a nice guy. You don't want people to talk behind you and say that, you know, we don't trust that person. That will have, you know, make an incredible difference to what people will say behind your backs as to whether you become successful or not. And lastly, another skill that is also not taught in school, I found, both as an engineer and an MBA, clear thinking and writing are critical. And they don't teach you that in college. But I thought I was smart when I went to work for Booz Allen in Hamilton. You know, and they tore me apart. They redid my thinking. They resculptured it. What I thought it was good, but it was nothing compared to, you know, what was expected in terms of being able to think clearly, express yourself clearly, and express yourself, especially in writing clearly, because that's how people are going to judge you. So unless you have a clear definition of what you want to do, rigidly clear, invest the time up front and clarify your goals. Let me step back a little bit and tell you what the Comptroller's function does within county government. As the Dean indicated, we oversee a budget of close to $2.6 billion. The Comptroller's responsibility is to manage that budget and report as how well or how poorly the administration is in tracking to budget, or warn that they are deviating from budget, and therefore they need to make corrections, adjustments as necessary. So that's a very important function. We approve all the contracts. And one of the things that we did in government, and when I came in and brought my background, is I insisted that all contracts be reviewed and have an expression of value. Is this contract necessary? And does the amount that we're paying for this service or product to be delivered, is it worth, does it have value? And value may not always be measured in dollars, because, you know, a government delivers services. But there has to be some expression of value commensurate with the expense that the taxpayers are asked to pay. So review of contracts and making sure that the contracts contain clearly defined deliverables associated with payment, and not simply, as is commonly the case, progress payments, monthly or usually monthly progress payments that are seldom tied to quantifiable deliverables. Having quantifiable deliverables is also important because the controller also pays the bills. So when the work is done by the various departments, they will send the bills, the invoices, claims to the controller's office for payment. So we need to verify that those deliverables, or whatever the items were that the product was delivered, were actually delivered and done successfully in order to pay that invoice. So it's important to have clearly defined milestones in our contracts. We also process the payroll, so we pay all our police officers and all civil service employees. We manage the health benefits of the county. And lastly, and most importantly, we have an audit function with subpoena power to go in and audit every department in government and every agency or outside organization that does business with the government, including the special districts that we have here in Nassau County. And that function is important, and we've used it, I think, wisely and effectively to streamline county government, reduce costs, recommend certain departmental consolidations, all towards making government more efficient. And I think in Nassau County we've been relatively successful. The bottom line is now that for 2.5 years we've been there, and since we were elected, we took a county that was almost on the brink of bankruptcy, with a $135 million deficit, almost no money in reserves in the bank. And in the first year, we turned that around into a $26 million surplus, while absorbing the significant cost increases in pension costs and health insurance contributions, as well as other inflationary costs. We did the same thing in the second year. This year, 2011, I think we're going to end with imbalance, not with a surplus. And the budget this year for 2012, although it has considerable challenges that have to be somehow brought to fruition by the county executive, there is hope that it can also end in balance. And for 3 consecutive years, by streamlining government, making it more efficient, the county government did not raise property taxes at all, 0%. While at the same time, again, I want to put things in perspective, our health insurance costs have gone up by 30% in 3 years. Our pension contributions that are dictated by the state have gone up 60%. We have had to cope with very onerous labor agreements that were signed going out to 2015. So so all those cost pressures will continue to impact the county. So far, we've been able to manage. We will continue to manage going forward, but we're basically running out of bullets in terms of how much more we can cut without sacrificing public safety and public services. So we'll see what the administration and the legislature decides to do after 2012. I'm happy to say that one of the things the county controller doesn't do is make policy or decides how the money is to be spent. That's up to the county executive and the legislature to do so. But once they decide, our job is to make sure that that money is spent effectively and for the purpose that it was intended. So what does that have to do with law, engineering, and business? It has everything to do with it. And what I spoke about is the economics of government, the business of government, and the legal requirements. Chris is with an attorney with the Comptroller's office. We have 2 other attorneys within our office. They're the department head of audits is an attorney, Deputy Comptroller Joey Watson Chris with another individuals are part of our attorney staff. They review all the contract. So I assure you, government is at all levels is a golden career opportunity for attorneys. I think there are more attorneys in government than maybe more than there should be, but it's a fertile ground for attorneys. But what is government lacking, and what I've been speaking about is, you know, both with attorneys as well as with our leaders, is an understanding of economics and business principles. And I think that's what I brought, that balance to government. Most of our government officials are attorneys. Most departments have attorneys. So you will have plenty of career opportunities in government. But I urge you that if you want to, you know, excel, you know, and you need and make informed decisions, you know, take a course in economics, take a course in business principles. The most fundamental principles in business you practice every day. You know, you have to manage to the amount of money you earn. You can't overspend. You have to balance your checkbook. Those are the fundamental business principles. And if you keep that in mind when you go out in your careers or in government and bring those very common sense fundamental principles, I think you're going to be head and shoulders above everybody else. And have a sense of economics. You know, just glance at the business section, maybe a few of the headlines, you know, every day, because it gives you a different perspective, and it does apply to law. It puts all your work into perspective, and I think, you know, you will find it that you will differentiate yourself and excel in having a broader knowledge than simply case law that you may ask to participate in. The last thing I want to leave with you, and it's something that I've always kept in mind when you go out there into the real world, is that, you know, don't feel that you're as good as anybody else out there. That there's nobody better than you. And follow your dream. You can achieve whatever your dream may be. But also have respect and be modest, because you're no better than anybody else. So keep those two. You're as good as everybody else out there, but you're no better than anybody else. So respect your colleagues, your people that work for you, and I think you're going to have a great career.